Do you suppose he wants,
I have to.
Want to do another number? Did you breastfeed the baby earlier, or was that my imagination?
I did it.
That did startle me a bit, but it always does. I've seen that several times in my life.
Yeah.
People suddenly will do that, and I think I've learned now to be cool about it, and it doesn't bother me a bit.
When Barbara Hershey unlatched her bra and fed her baby live on national television, jaws dropped, careers stalled, and headlines screamed. But the seeds of that infamous moment were actually sown in a film drenched in grit, gunfire, and unapologetic sexuality. Boxcar Bertha. This wasn't just any movie. This was Martin Scorsese's chaotic, sex-soaked second feature, and it unleashed a side of Hershey that Hollywood didn't quite know how to handle. So, how did a low-budget Depression-era crime flick produce one of the most controversial cultural moments of the 70s? Buckle up. This ride's got rails, revolvers, and one very unexpected public breastfeeding. Boxcar Bertha, released in 1972, was Martin Scorsese's sophomore directorial effort, produced by none other than Roger Corman, the undisputed king of American exploitation cinema. Corman was fresh off the success of Bloody Mama, a female-led gangster flick, and wanted to follow it up with something just as raw and riveting. Julie Corman, Roger's wife, dove into research and found the obscure memoir Sister of the Road by Dr. Ben Reitman. The book, written under the guise of Bertha Thompson's autobiography, was actually a piece of radical feminist fiction. In typical Corman fashion, the story was snatched up for adaptation, despite questions about its authenticity. There's even a rumor that Julie Corman tried to buy the rights directly from Bertha Thompson herself, tracking her to a San Francisco hotel. The woman supposedly refused to open the door, adding another layer of mystique to the already foggy origins of the character. Whether true or not, the myth of Bertha only added to the film's rebellious tone. It was a movie built on blurred lines between fact and fiction, law and chaos, love and lust. The film's screenplay, written by Joyce Hooper Corrington and John William Corrington, transformed Bertha into a cinematic symbol of resistance. Played by Barbara Hershey, Bertha is a drifter who becomes an outlaw, taking up with radical union organizer Big Bill Shelley, David Carradine, of course, and embarking on a spree of train robberies and anti-capitalist mayhem. Her journey is as much about survival as it is about defiance. Hershey's Bertha isn't your standard sex symbol. She's tough, passionate, and quick with a gun. She gets her hands dirty, sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically, and she doesn't flinch. When her lover is jailed, she breaks him out. When he's murdered, she doesn't cry. She fights. The film isn't subtle, but it is sincere in its depiction of a woman caught in the jaws of an unjust system. Off-screen, the chemistry between Hershey and Carradine, equally combustible. They were already romantically involved when production began, having met years earlier on Heaven with a Gun. Their scenes in Boxcar Bertha were reportedly so steamy, the pair recreated them in a nude Playboy photo spread later that year. Hershey even gave birth to their child, Free Carradine, shortly after filming Wrapped. It was a wild, free-spirited union that mirrored the film's rebellious energy. Production itself was a whirlwind. Scorsese had just come off his debut feature, Who's That Knocking at My Door?, and was eager to prove himself. He was given only 24 days to shoot, a shoestring budget, and explicit instructions to include nudity every 15 pages. Whether that directive was real or exaggerated over time, it defined the tone. According to Scorsese, the nudity wasn't gratuitous. It was contextual, part of the raw, unfiltered reality he was portraying. But let's be honest, it didn't hurt the box office either. Filming took place in Arkansas. where train tracks and dilapidated depots provided authentic Depression-era backdrops. The train sequences were shot first, partly because they were the most complicated to coordinate, and partly because Scorsese wanted to lock in the film's rhythm early. He edited much of the movie himself, though he didn't receive official credit due to union rules. He even padded the cast list with names like Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, a subtle tribute to the British directors he idolized. The film premiered with little fanfare, but it made waves among critics. Roger Ebert gave it a cautious thumbs up, noting that while it indulged in the excesses of its genre, it also had a certain heart. He saw in Scorsese a filmmaker with something deeper to say, someone who wouldn't stay in the exploitation lane forever. And he was right. After Boxcar Bertha, Scorsese went on to direct Mean Streets, the film that truly put him on the map. Hershey, meanwhile, was riding a wave of fame and infamy. In 1973, she appeared on the Dick Cavett Show with Carradine. Their infant son was backstage crying. Hershey did what any mother might do. She brought him out and breastfed him. But this wasn't just any stage. It was national television. Live, uncensored. Cavett was stunned. The producers cut to commercial. When the show returned, he asked if she'd really done what it looked like she did. Hershey, calm and unapologetic, simply said, "I did it." The public lost its mind. In an era when even saying the word breast on TV was taboo, Hershey's act was seen as nothing short of revolutionary, or obscene, depending on who you asked. The media painted her as unstable. Studio heads blacklisted her. Even David Carradine, in a moment of retroactive discomfort, admitted it made him uneasy. To many, she became the poster child of Hollywood hippie absurdity. But Hershey never apologized. Looking back, she called the act instinctual, not political. "I knew what my son needed, so I just gave it to him," she said years later. The moment tanked her career, but it didn't kill it. By the late 80s, Hershey had clawed her way back into Hollywood's good graces with standout roles in The Last Temptation of Christ, A World Apart, and Shy People. She went on to win a Primetime Emmy, a Golden Globe, and the respect she'd always deserved. Today, Barbara Hershey lives mostly out of the spotlight, embracing her age with grace. She's spoken openly about accepting her wrinkles as badges of a life well lived. She doesn't eat sugar, she doesn't dye her hair, and she certainly doesn't apologize for being exactly who she is. And what about Boxcar Bertha? In hindsight, it's more than just a stepping stone for Scorsese. It's a snapshot of a very specific time in American cinema, when the boundaries of what was acceptable were being tested, stretched, and sometimes shattered. It's a film that dared to let its characters be dirty, desperate, and undeniably human. Now it's time to hear from you. Would Boxcar Bertha still shock audiences today? Or has our definition of controversy changed since 1972? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.